So why should we be going to the Philippines, in general? And you said $2 an hour in your example there right before. So you need to justify that, because $2 an hour to most people, they would think, what?
So your question in the beginning was like, why are these companies coming here? So over the last 10 years, I've watched the world's outsourcing change from wherever it is to the Philippines. And I mean, I'll give you an example. Like 8 years ago, I called Amazon customer service and I got someone in India and I couldn't understand them and they couldn't understand me. And I hung up and I immediately called back. And this time I got someone in the Philippines and I knew that because I had people in the Philippines. And I was like, holy crap, Amazon is testing. Like they're testing this and seeing if a call doesn't work out here, does it work out here? Yes, it does. You will never, I can't say never, but you'll never talk to someone in India anymore in a call center because the Philippines is so much better at it. So there's a specific set of cultural differences in the Philippines that doesn't exist elsewhere in the world that I had no idea about. And I can give you a list of like 7 things here. And this isn't like, why is outsourcing better in the Philippines? No, this is just what my experience is over the years, right? So number one, they're honest. And honest almost like to the point where my guys have my credit card, they have my bank account info, they have access to my personal email account, they have my PayPal account. The only thing they don't do is they don't pay themselves because then they would know how much each other made. Now, having said that, they want to be honest with you. They don't want to steal your stuff, but you should be careful in the beginning until you trust this person. Don't go doing something you're not comfortable with and get yourself ripped off, right? I have helped hundreds of thousands of people hire Filipinos over the years. And I've seen so few cases of Filipino workers stealing something from the employer. And those cases where I did, it was almost every single time it was because the employer had them do a bunch of work and then tried to not pay them for it. And the Filipino was just trying to get paid.
Oh,
So,
well, so not completely just exit scamming and screwing the other
no.
person over.
Right. Right. Okay. So the second cultural difference that I had no idea about was they're loyal, like almost to a fault of loyal. Like the first guy I ever hired still works for me today. This is 14 years later. And I have people that have worked for me for 13 years and 12 years and 9 years and 7 years. And so one time I gave one of my people, okay, I have two quick stories. One, I had this guy who worked for me. He's a programmer, the best programmer I've ever met. He doesn't work for me today. But here's why. So one day he comes to me. He's making $500 a month
As a
full time.
programmer.
He was amazing, right? He comes to me and says, "Sir, I got a job in Singapore making $2,500 a month, and I'm going to take it. But don't worry, sir. I'm still going to work for you part-time at the current rate you're paying me." So he's going to go make $2,500 a month, and he's going to work part-time for $250 a month for me, right? This is how loyal they are. I've been very careful to not put my people in contact with customers because customers hear this story and they know, like, oh, hey, you work for John? Oh, I'm going to hire you, right?
Yeah, right?
So one time I did. I said, hey, you're going to do Facebook stuff and you're going to contact customers on Facebook. And so I said, but just be aware, you're going to get job offers from people now and they're going to pay you more money. And I want you to think about it. I want you to be loyal to me. And she said, oh, don't worry about that. I get job offers every single day. I'm not taking them. I'm sticking with you, right? So, and that's kind of, if you treat them well, and we'll get into that later because that's the critical piece here. If you treat them well and you gain their trust, they'll work for you forever, which means you can teach them stuff you would never teach like an hourly local person or a project-based person or a contract worker. You can teach them like how to filter my email every single day. So like a guy logs into my email account and gets rid of all the junk that I don't want to see, and he knows because I've taught him how to do this so that when I get up in the morning, I have a clean inbox because it saves me 15 minutes. Right?
My inbox is a mess, hence why
Yeah.
this is take number 3 of this interview happening. Yeah, so I need one of those.
Okay, so Filipinos they're honest, they're loyal, they're very hardworking, like they're pleasing as a culture. That's why they often work in hospitality because they want to make people happy and they're good at it. They have computers and internet access. Their infrastructure is very good for a third world country, but it's a third world country, so salaries are very low. Um, and then they speak, this is a hard one, they speak American English, not Indian English. They speak good English. Or let me say, you'll never have a communication issue with the Philippines. That's probably the better way to say this is like there are cultural differences, but you won't have a communication issue where you say something and they didn't understand what you said. Your instructions may not be clear, but
no, I think that's actually a very important point. I think one thing is that Indian English is, from what I've seen, more mathematical, like very like exactism. And then but like it seems like you're talking to an American when you speak to people from the Philippines.
yeah, you'll often get someone who understands slang or who speaks to you a slang. I thought I turned that off. Um, and like yeah, the communication isn't an issue. So you get a whole bunch of things that are different. Like they're hardworking, they're loyal, they're honest, they speak your language. They won't have a problem working for a male boss versus a female boss. That's not an issue at all. And then kind of the last thing, and this is really important, is Filipinos are not entrepreneurial. Like culturally, they're not entrepreneurial. It's kind of looked down upon in the Philippines as risky. So like I told you about this guy who builds me this business. Well, why doesn't he just go do it on his own, right? Because he doesn't want to. That's not their culture. Number one, spending $12 for a domain is risky for him. He's making, well, at the time he was making $250 a month. Spending $8 is risky, and then you risk losing your job, and then he risks not succeeding, and generally across the board, they are not entrepreneurial. So what you end up getting is this full-time person who wants to work hard for you, so that they can keep their job, so they can take a paycheck home for their family. They're honest and they're loyal and hardworking, and you get this really, really good situation that's different than most other places in the world.
Yeah. So just to follow up on that, so I've been to China and in the United States here. So in US, it's the American dream or whatever is to, you build a business and you're successful and you have your own thing and you probably sell that to people. But in China, it's, I want a factory. I want to move massive volume. But in the Philippines, like there's just different, that's not like the dream. Kind of what is the Filipino dream or, their cultural thing?
So this is so weird. The Philippines, for us, this is so weird. The Philippines' number one export is humans. Like
What?
10% of the country lives outside of the country. Like on cruise ships or in hospitals or in nursing homes or whatever, right? Or as nannies or maids or whatever. And that is generally the Filipino dream, is to go and get a job overseas working where you can make more money and send money home. So,
Oh,
and that's why that programmer said, hey man, this is like my dream. I'm going to take this job.
wow. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So then you hire them. They're working from home. They get to take care of their kids. They get to be with their family and they get to make good money at home with a stable long-term job. And it's like, I mean, I can tell you story after story after story of them going above and beyond what I've asked them to do so that they make sure they keep their job. Because now my success is important to them because they have a job.
Well, I'm sold. I want to hire someone right now. I've hired many people, but now I want to.
Dude, as I like went through this and discovered this, I was like,
Right, that's pretty motivating. And an awesome story, but now you're saying some people make it and some don't. So we're going to talk about what you should start with outsourcing and how to go about this and actually make it successful. So there's probably reasons why some people aren't successful with it.